better than I do what should be the next best course of action.
Look, I trust you. Do you trust me?
What sort of question is that?
You believe I have something to offer this group? Yes?
I do.
Then why won't you take my advice? Am I not here to help you?
I never asked you for your advice.
Then what am I here for?
Well, somebody had to do it, and Luke Dimyan is that person. He is playing the role of Judas in The Chosen, and this is season 5 that we're going to be talking about, which is a very pivotal season for his character. And Luke, it's great to be able to have you here on Charisma to talk about your portrayal of this infamous character.
Well, thank you for having me, John. Happy to be here.
So, Luke, there's videos of you talking with Dallas and with other people about you, kind of how you got the role of Judas. And originally, you had auditioned for Other Disciples, and then I know Amanda Jenkins was like, he's the guy for Judas. Can you tell me about what it was like for you to actually receive that role? And I know you had to actually kind of keep it a secret for a little bit too.
Yeah, it was very interesting. I guess maybe not so interesting because it was mostly in an email conversation. It was very much like, hey, audition for Judas, don't tell anybody. And I was like, okay. And then I did this live stream. No, not a live stream. That's incorrect. I did this live audition, streaming audition on EcoCast Live on Actors Access with Dallas Jenkins, and I read the parts, and he showed, honestly, I have to give Dallas this, he does not show any favoritism or interest in the reads. If you give him like something that he likes, he's like, yeah, nice. And he like continues on. I was like, oh, I don't need this. So I personally thought like I had bombed the audition. I think he enjoyed the fact that I nerded out with him about the film Jesus of Nazareth before that, talking about Ian McShane's portrayal of Judas Iscariot. So the fact that after all that, after he said, was like, yeah, we don't know, but we'll get you in the show somehow. I just assumed that that wasn't it, but I'd get it later. But he played me well. He had me assume that I hadn't gotten the part, and then I think a month later they sent me a subsequent email telling me that I got the part, which was great. I was very happy to have been cast and to have been cast in this role specifically.
So I want to hear about that conversation that you had with Dallas. You mentioned that in the film Jesus of Nazareth, you appreciated this portrayal of Judas that was in that. Can you give us a little bit of an insight about what the things that you thought were very interesting about that particular character? And were you already thinking about Judas at that time?
Yeah, I mean, thinking about Judas in general, he's a very prolific figure, not only in biblical history, but in a lot of other forms, whatever someone tackles the story of Jesus. Most people jump right after that. I was like, oh, right. How does Judas look? How is he being treated? And even in other secular forms of media, like in theater or in songs, music, you have famous bands like Judas Priest. You have the very popular song Judas by Lady Gaga, my new personal theme song, regularly. It's what I just really enjoyed about Jesus of Nazareth, which I had to watch alone. I recommended it to my family. I was like, hey, we should all watch this on Easter. And my parents looked at me like, no, that is 3 hours long. We purely own it for just namesake, just the fact that it's a Jesus movie, but we don't watch that Jesus movie. Come on, please. But I, being a bit of a cinephile, was like, well, I want to watch it. And I did. And I just really appreciated Ian McShane's Judas, just his earnestness, his care, his like gentle nature. And then the fact that as the movie progressed, it almost looked like he got tricked into portraying Jesus, not necessarily like he meant to, but it happened like out of his own like he just didn't see it coming. And so I just really appreciated that portrayal by an already incredible performer. His resume precedes him, and so does his talent. And so it's a pretty solid camp to be in, the Judas camp. I'm trying to fill some pretty great shoes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that's a very difficult role to play. And I know I've seen other interviews where you're talking about how Judas has been a character that you've actually not necessarily associated with, but you've had empathy towards. And now that you've been playing the part of Judas, I know there's a scene that actually has come out already, or that the Chosen YouTube has put out, where you as Judas and Jonathan Rumi as Jesus are sitting across the table from each other, having this in-depth conversation. And Judas has kind of gone from this apprentice character that when you first meet him to now we know where he's going, and we're getting ever closer to that. How have you been able to portray that role? And then let's kind of lead up to that table talk right there.
Oh, it's mostly in the scripts. The scripts kind of lead to that point, the small little growths and build-ups to those moments. I think it was mostly in there, and I was just very thankful to have a very receptive scene partner like Jonathan to just take in everything that I was giving him and to give me things back to either react to or hone in on during our scene and conversation.
So is that one of your favorite scenes that you've been able to have?
Oh, it was definitely up there. I think when I read the scripts, that was the scene I was most looking forward to film, because in my eyes, I was like, oh, this is the last time they talk. Like, this is the real last time they get to talk. Like, that Jesus even sees Judas as a friend, because after that, I feel like there's nothing much they can do. But I think the scene that surprised me, that became a very big favorite as well, was the scene with Caiaphas. And purely, I was just gonna go through that scene very casually, very practically. But then Richard Fancy, who plays Caiaphas, just blew me away. And so getting to perform with him really made the scene all the more special.
So I know you grew up as a Coptic Orthodox Christian. What tell me about the view that you've had of the Passion Week, or of the crucifixion of Christ, coming from that tradition?
Oh, well, it's very personal, intense. We have Pascha Week, which I believe it's similar to Greek Orthodox, where we have an entire week leading up to Easter and the crucifixion. And for Easter, we spend a solid 12 hours, I believe, from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. going through the hours. At the third hour, he's crucified, and we have an entire procession where the congregation is held together, and then we take a 2-hour break from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. and then 8 p.m. to 12 to midnight. We continue. We take it very personal and seriously, and it's almost like a historical reenactment within our churches, where we follow the timestamps directly, and we sing prayers like to understand and to spiritually connect to the emotions that everything where everybody was going. I appreciate it for its strong cultural aspects and the fact that it's so dedicated to the story. Like, we don't, like, again, it's like a 12-hour service day, especially for Good Friday, the day of crucifixion. And so that's something that is a bit daunting, but I've come to just appreciate the commitment and the sacrifice to that day, that we take it in fully for all that it's worth. So that's, we take it seriously. I think we have a huge reverence for not only the day, but for the entire week.
Yeah. Well, I'm always interested in different traditions as we look at the as we look at the crucifixion, the resurrection, and one of the things that I know is a pivotal part of this season is the Last Supper, which is actually a Jewish Passover where Jesus institutes the breaking of the bread and the sharing the cup, which was part of the Passover service. And I know that Rabbi Jason Sobel actually took the whole cast through a through a Passover supper. Can you tell me about just what that, maybe some new insight or some things where it feels like there's more connection to the communion elements now as a result of playing the part and being involved with, Jonathan and these other people's literally you're portraying the people that were actually there.
Honestly, it was just a great experience overall because I'm not Jewish, but getting to experience the Passover with that lens, with that element, I didn't realize how much that I would understand. I didn't realize Passover was specifically a feast in commemoration of Exodus. I completely never made the connection because I was never taught. I didn't know the specifications of what it was for, but in doing so, I found myself, I thought I was going to go in completely naive, not understand anything that was being presented to me. But as we continued the feast, it gave me a huge appreciation and understanding for the tradition. And I didn't realize that I would have a connection and understanding for it as much as I did, because knowing the story of Exodus, the suffering at the hands of the Egyptian people that the Israelites went through, and the lamb over the doorpost, the plagues, all of that, and in such a caring and understanding fashion, a very methodical, procession to go through it all, but also to appreciate the people that are around you. I just found it. I'm really glad that I was able to get to experience that, not only traditionally to be able to take that in and to appreciate Jewish culture, but to be able to do that with my friends, with my brothers on the show, and to share in that feast together. Honestly, I think I might have appreciated our personal Passover than the one we filmed a little bit more.
I think that's going to be something that really helps a lot of people understand the deeper truths that are kind of baked into that meal that we just kind of sometimes look in our modern traditions or modern retellings of that tradition of just breaking the bread and the juice. There's a lot more to that. And I love how The Chosen has really opened people's eyes to the first century culture and what was kind of going on in that world at that time. I know you have a difficult role because you know that you're going to be betraying Jesus, and we know where Judas ends.
I already kissed the dude. We're all good. Now we get to deal with the ramifications.
Exactly, and that's what I wanted to talk about: the ramifications of playing the part of Judas for Luke Dimyan. Tell me about how The Chosen has changed your life, and I'm sure you've probably received some death threats already. So, from fans.
Oh, yeah. My grandma hasn't stopped texting me since.
Yeah,
it's been pretty constant. The disownments, the writing out of the wills. Mm-hmm. She's tried to throw her walker at me a few times. Sadly, she's missed. Hand-eye coordination has not continued. But not a lot of death threats. No. The way it's changed my life, it's allowed me to afford healthcare, which is nice. But other than that, I'm still living my life pretty normally. I'm still career-wise, I'm still fighting for auditions, same as any actor. And as far as reception, other than maybe some tasteless jokes in the comments of Instagram or TikTok, my life is pretty unchanged. I'm still pretty much me, which I think is the thing I'm most grateful for. So thank you, Chosen. Thank you for actually not changing my life too much. I appreciate it.
So as we're wrapping up here, Luke, just tell us why you think that somebody should really what they're going to get from season 5, and specifically what was the most important things for you.
You're going to get sad. I think there's going to be a lot of I don't know. It's hard because it just feels like another chapter, a continuation of the story. It feels just like another piece of the puzzle that you have to just take in, appreciate, and wait until the next part comes in, because the picture isn't finished. The picture probably won't be finished till season 7, but I just hope they enjoy it. I hope whatever chapter they see either in theaters or wherever they can see it, I hope they just enjoy the story and the artistry that so many people came and put together to make this show possible. Because a lot of people worked on this, and we gave it our all this time. So, yeah.
Awesome. Luke Dimyan, thank you so much for taking the time to share about your experience with The Chosen, and thank you for portraying the role of Judas as nobody else could. Thank you very much.